Hi, Marv.
Hello, Kelly.
We were just talking about these astrology podcasts that we do, and you gave a really good definition. I'm not going to give it like perfectly, I'm sure, but you said you are always wanting to bring people the energy of what is coming in the next month when we're doing these podcasts, like with the new moon, with all of the other transits that are happening. It's more about the energy so that people can figure out how that is playing into their lives and look at how they can work with it.
Well, and the thing about it is they're going to work with the energy. They're going to recognize it in whatever part of their life that it is occurring.
Right.
They'll recognize it. I
Yeah.
mean,
We're in an interesting time now because astrology is so universally discussed. And I don't really, in my lifetime at least, there has not been another time period where that has been the case. And so it's interesting because, on one hand, people know a lot about the terms of astrology. Like this month, we're talking about a Virgo new moon. It's Virgo season. We just came out of Leo season. And you and I will say things like that. But your biggest fear is that people are kind of misinterpreting what certain things are because they're not professional astrologers, and there's so much just pop astrology out there kind of ebbing and flowing into this like basic level astrology stuff, and that's not fully the purpose of astrology. The purpose is to work with the energy and to have awareness about what's happening so that you can see what the universe is mirroring to you, or that's how I use it at least. But that's why working with someone like you is a little more helpful because there's so many different facets than just like, oh, there's a Virgo new moon happening. There's like all these other things happening too, right?
right.
That's
And
it. That is
so,
the shortest answer you had.
the,
I thought you were about to just go right. I was like, that's not a Marv answer. Something to just take over your
I
body.
thought that was a pretty good general breakdown of
Okay.
exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
mean, when when we're talking about Virgo, um, the very first thing that I put down in our outline is digestion and assimilation of life experiences. And that's what astrology is.
Mm,
Now, how do I help you digest and assimilate the energy that's working for all of us and is working for all of us on a personal level? It's working for all of us on a social level. And really, this month is so huge because Virgo is the critical, analytical, evaluating, judging sign of the zodiac. So we are for 6 months going to be under that auspices of Virgo of critically analyzing and evaluating. Now, we don't want to get into, the problem with Virgo is they look outside of themselves to evaluate things.
mhm.
The problem with Scorpio, which is on the other end of the scales of Libra, is that they look internally to evaluate everything. Well, guess what? It needs to be flipped. Virgo needs to look and evaluate themselves, and Scorpio needs to look outside of themselves to get correct feedback instead of being so fearful about feeling ultra sensitive and being seen. That's Scorpio's biggest conundrum, being seen. I
Mhm.
mean, if you can imagine that at the deepest of all levels. So, see, Virgo and Scorpio are two ends, are the only three constellations that are connected. So, Virgo's on one end of the scale, Scorpio is on the other end of the scale of Libra. And when you look up in the sky, it's balancing. It's got to be balanced. And the way we balance Virgo is evaluate what we see and how we perceive it. Now, when we perceive something, my way of seeing it is you have to use universal law to understand if this is the correct way of perceiving it or if this is coming out of my ego personality and I've got some sort of fear or protection mechanism that's rejecting whatever I'm seeing and feeling.
Okay.
And so Virgo is to assimilate, just simply digest and assimilate. And in the full moon, which we've got a eclipse of the full moon, well, that's going to last 6 months. And the full moon is about stop polarization.
Mm,
So this whole conversation today is going to be about how we are so polarized amongst ourselves, amongst society, and how are we going to get out of the polarization? Because that is you to become more evolved in consciousness. We have to accept the dark and the light on equal terms. You
I
can't
love
just
that.
say, "Oh, I'm just going to be all pure and good and peace, love, dove." That's not going to give you Christ consciousness at all.
Mhm.
The only time you're going to get into Christ consciousness is in fourth dimension and maybe even higher, so that you can defuse polarization, because there is no right, wrong. There is no good, evil, black, white, us, them. There is no need to control negatives because you want to make it positive. And so that's what we face every single full moon, is looking outside of ourselves and evaluating our experience, what we're seeing, whether it's from an event or whether it's from an individual.
Mm.
I mean, we can meet people can say what they want to say, and that may be their belief. Well, I don't want to change their belief. I mean, if they believe they want to use Mars energy to go out and stab somebody, what am I supposed to do? Now
That felt
that's
extreme,
my
Mars.
that was my Aries. Sorry.
Okay. That snuck out there, didn't it?
How about if they just go beat somebody up or something? I
Okay,
don't
or how
know.
about just say something rude?
But my point is if you're going to use Mars, we all use each one of these energies from our own practical experiences. And
Mhm.
you have to understand, we have to all understand that we don't know what kind of feedback you need for your greater good. And um, this is why we all need individuality and I'm looking for the sovereignty.
Mhm.
We all have our own beliefs, and we have those beliefs that have been put in place by a series of other lifetimes, maybe by a series of experiences in this lifetimes. So I can't control, and it's not my job to control or to fix.
Mhm.
My only job is to point out how you're perceiving it and another way of perceiving it. And if that makes sense, great. And if it don't make sense, well, you ain't ready to hear it.
Mm.
That's all.
You know, it's so interesting. As you're saying all this, I always think it's so interesting that what is happening on a big scale is also what's happening typically on the smaller scale, like the individual scale. And I think, our culture, we've talked about this a ton. It's gotten so divisive and so polarizing. So this is actually really exciting to me to hear that this is kind of the energy that's coming in, because it's like, God, about damn time, like help us out, because we're so extreme in our thinking. And it's like you have to make that person right or wrong and vice versa. But I think on a smaller scale too, like that's been a part of my personal journey as well. In People want to call it healing or evolving or whatever it is. It's like we look at these certain behaviors as like bad, or these certain qualities as bad. And the older I've gotten and the more I've grown, the more I'm understanding that like truly loving myself is accepting all parts. It's accepting the good part, or the parts that I deem good. And it's also accepting the parts that I deem bad. And like that is true self-love, is to kind of stop labeling them. They just are. They're these parts, and I'm working with them constantly There's certain things that make me feel good, then there's certain things that make me feel bad, and, like, those just it just is kind of this thing of, like, I don't have to judge it so harshly. Does that make sense? Like, the connection I'm
Well,
making?
yeah, it makes perfect sense. And you see what a higher conscious way of looking at that would say, okay, this makes me feel bad. So this is my opportunity to see why I'm feeling bad, why I'm judging it, what is it bringing up into me, and
Right.
then neutralize it.
Yes, that was where I was trying to get with that, and I didn't quite finish that thought, so that was good. That I needed that little amendment. But yes, it's like to because I think a lot of times what we do instead is go, "That's bad," we label it, and then we shove it into the dark instead of looking at it or working with it or
Right.
adjusting it or even figuring out where it's coming from, and I think that can work right now on an individual scale, but then on the big scale too, getting more curious and opening up the conversation, like you said, versus just being like, well, your perception is wrong. Like, why don't we talk about it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you can have a conversation, I mean, a good back and forth is always good and it gives you a pause for reflection. And
Right.
that's all you're doing. Just reflect on what
Yeah.
another person was saying. Doesn't mean you have to go along with it. It just means that you have to believe and trust in yourself to come to your own understanding.
Right.
And they can believe what they want and it doesn't make them wrong and it doesn't make you right.
Yeah. Well,
It
it's all
just,
based
it's a
on personal
belief.
experiences, like you mentioned. Like, we've all had completely different life experiences. And also, I think a lot of us have gone through things or act certain ways or whatever. We don't wanna accept how similar and how connected we all are either. So, it's this really interesting, like, back and forth I feel like we're doing with judgment right now. So, this will be very interesting this coming month with all or 6 months, I guess, with all of this, energy coming in.
Well, and then think about what the new moon in Virgo um, set out on the 23rd of last month. Well, the significance of that new moon was being true to oneself and viewpoint,
Mm,
seeing self as you are and learning about your best and worst traits from reactions of others, friends, and enemies. Now that's exactly what Virgo is. I don't want just feedback. I mean, if you get you're creating whatever is in front of you at any moment in time. So if you get something, a feedback from somebody, or maybe just a little dig or a little joke, well, and all of a sudden it resonates with you. Well, then that means as you going along, you're going back and relooking at that and hashing that out.
so
That's a
true.
positive.
Yeah. I had that experience this week. I was in New York, and, my boyfriend said something to me that I got so upset about, like, I took so personally, and it hurt my feelings, I know, and I was like, "Wait, I know he didn't mean that way, so why did it bother me so much?" And the more I asked those questions, the more I got to it was something that had happened in a past relationship, and in that past relationship, it was a hurtful behavior, but that wasn't how this relationship was, at all bringing it into the picture. But it was important for me to look back because I think so often I feel like right now I'm in a good place relationship-wise, and so it's almost like I forget what happened in the past, and then that stuff can sneak up on you, though, and it's like, it's still very helpful sometimes for me to understand where I came from to then be able to stay in this positive place because
See, that's the opportunity.
yeah. No, it was
That's the
actually it ends up we
opportunity.
had a great conversation about it too, which, brought us closer actually, because I opened up about something that had impacted me, and it was a beautiful situation, but had I just, like, gotten pissed or not looked at that or reflected, it would have never served that purpose, so I guess the energy is already working in my life.
Well, I mean, but I think that that's exactly a perfect example of what we're trying to say.
Yeah,
I mean, see, you didn't blame him. You didn't judge him. You didn't it hurt your feelings.
Mhm.
And then you come to find out, well, why did that hurt my feelings? You evaluate it and you come to find out he didn't mean it at all like you took it. But this
Totally.
is how we're always going back with perception perspectives of this life and a zillion other lifetimes.
Mhm.
And it's an error. So you came up with the feeling, but now you can neutralize that emotion, and it no longer he can never say that again that would affect you that way ever
Yeah.
again.
Yeah.
It's gone
Yeah.
because it's now sublimated. You took it to a higher level of consciousness. I just came across a quote today as I'm reading another book. Um, in order for you to create a new life, in order to change your perception of the world, you would have to change the information that you receive.
But
That's
you
Dr.
can't.
Joe Dispenza.
Yeah, Dispenza. But how can you change the information you've received in the past? You can't.
Because you did you get it from your ego that's trying to protect you, or are
Mm,
you getting it from your higher mind that aligns with universal law,
I'm thinking.
that aligns with universal truths? And
Yeah,
that's exactly what we've got to do to get rid of the polarization in this whole society.
that makes sense to me.
I mean, I think that you have to understand. We don't have to understand Donald Trump. We have to understand why he appealed to so many people. That's all you need to understand. And all of those people are not necessarily wrong.
Mhm.
So we have to understand that that's in us. The universe is in us. Society is in us. So we can't judge why those people liked him. We
Mhm.
have to understand why those people like him.
Well, it's so interesting because doesn't it always go back like, he's a good example maybe because he's such a polarizing person, but, in certain situations, like, I can't understand why people voted for who they voted for all the time, and that's because of my life experiences and the things that are valuable to me for my survival, right? Like, the most important factors. And when I've been in discussion with people who vote differently than me, the things that matter to them the most about survival that are, like, the highest on their list are in different order than mine, and so it's like, of course we vote differently, like, we literally have had completely different maybe they don't look completely different from the outside, but a lot of times our life experiences have been different, and then when you ask us, "What's the most important driving factor right now?" It's also different. And so we keep hating on these people, but it's like we're not considering the whole picture. Like you're saying, we're not considering all of the conversation that needs to be had to get to a better place of understanding. Because then maybe we could find something that was more of a middle ground or compromise that worked for more people.
In an esoteric um, way, we're all battling the Orion factor.
What's that?
Well, that is the galactic species from the planet Orion. And what they battled was a strong individualism versus a strong socialism.
Okay.
And it's like became a private war.
Mm,
It's the same thing that happened in Atlantis. So we're still modeling that same um, framework of society. And, and this is the same thing I keep telling people I'm not against Republicans because Republicans want um, a strong business community. And that's understandable.
sure.
And Democrats want a strong populace, a strong individuals through a social connect. Now, They have to be balanced. They can't be, it's never one or the other. And so I think that this is what we're going through for the next 6 months
Okay.
is is balancing that,
Mm,
talking to each other instead of, hollering and screaming and fighting that negativity. I mean, you've got to neutralize it to get the higher consciousness.
yes.
So why not neutralize it now? And so the energy that's working on this particular new moon, as Uranus squares the new moon, well, it's breaking free of rigid routines. And the practice, because Uranus is the future, practicing using intuition, innovation, and flexibility, and letting go of a rigid way of living. It's no longer Saturn's voice
Mm,
of putting down the foundation and keeping it there just so we can stay secure.
right.
So Uranus is always break up, break out, break away, and break free from the rigidity of a reality so that we can grow and expand and experience new possibilities. And so this whole new moon is about that. And this is what made me think of that Iran equation because it became a real war. I mean, it was centuries
Mhm.
that they fought, and they had to come to uh, the equilibrium and balance. And so this is where we need to do the same thing. And so the best way to break up a routine is just look at all your habits and routines that you do without thinking about them and think about them. And just take one or two a day and do it differently. And that will get you into a different mindset. It'll recalibrate you if
Mhm.
you do this for a period of time. And do you realize that you can become more flexible and adaptable to possibility outcome?
I'm laughing because it's so funny when you don't know. This is why astrology is so fascinating to me, is if I don't know what's happening, there will be certain things that just start happening in my life. Like recently, I started listening to this meditation, and it is affirmations that I do in the morning, and it's about breaking bad habits. And it was something I wanted to do because I've been feeling like I've been in this little bit of a rut with some things. And I was like, I just want to try to like start dropping these. Well, one of the things it says within that meditation, first of all, I think it's funny that I like picked that meditation going into this energy. But secondly, one of the things that it says is the more you focus on the bad habit, the bigger it gets. But instead, start focusing on the new behavior you want to replace it with and just put more energy there instead of going, stop this thing, don't do this. Like really like the negative effect I think that we all can tend to do of like, "Oh god, why am I doing that again?" Or we really put so much energy into that piece of it, and that's not the way to quit a habit, they said. It's more about, "Okay, well, if I'm feeling like I'm slow in my mornings, that's my bad habit or whatever, like I have a slow morning." Well, get up and start the day with these new, Chinese medicine exercises I've been doing or like go on a walk, like get myself moving and put energy into that part, like get excited about that versus going, God, you're so slow. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So anyway,
And
I'm
that's
right on
exactly,
time.
I mean, that's perfect. That's exactly what we're trying to convey.
Yeah.
And because what that's how you get out of that rut and routines. And of course, that brings us into the full moon in Pisces, which is an eclipse.
Okay.
And what's the first thing that I wrote? Awareness of humanity's deeper problems.
Mhm.
We all have to look at this. For 6 months, we're all going to be in a full phase mode. Full phase and full moon is a full moon happens every month, and that gives
Right.
us objectivity. That's what a full moon is.
Right.
So it's objectivity to see things in a different way. to perceive things in a different way. And the ones that challenge us, we're trying to raise the level of consciousness so we recognize it. And Uranus is sudden, unexpected. So it's sudden flashes of brilliance.
Mm,
So that's the way I learned to start following my intuition is if I had a sudden thought
yeah.
just sprang out of nowhere, I gave it 100% attention.
Mhm. Well,
That is,
I mean, that's
go
exactly
ahead.
what I was just saying. Like, that's what just was
Yes.
happening, and it's then you're telling me kind of what energy is coming in, and I'm like, "Oh, well, no wonder this has been what's been put on me to work on or whatever right now."
And then I followed that up with seeing the primitive side, underside of people in society. And so, we're all just everybody's just struggling to have the best life they can.
Sure.
Okay. And so we're fighting to align human law with laws of nature.
That's
I've
a
long
big
said,
one.
when people ask me, well, how do you know what universal law is? I said, it's nature.
Mhm.
Nature is universal law. And so, and then the energy pattern for this full moon is Pluto. Now get ready. Sesky squares the sun. This means, in other words, there's a tension
Okay.
with this full moon. And the tension is the challenge to move beyond fear of disruption to balance personal order with collective transformation. We are most certainly moving into social transformation.
Mhm.
Now, you can say it's going to be horrible, it's going to be bad, it's going to be this, it's going to be that. But whatever it is, one thing's for certain it is going to be transformation.
Yeah.
And what I've always said is take it to the highest denomination in your consciousness, become to the highest level of consciousness, which leads me to another quote that I read this morning. The
Okay.
appreciation of beauty is one of the few instances in which the ego allows transcendence experience to occur without interference. Your ability to perceive and appreciate beauty is the thread that keeps you connected to God.
I believe that.
Now, is that a beautiful way of looking at things?
I love the statement of your appreciation of beauty is your thread. How did he say it? Your thread.
Your connection to God.
Yeah.
That's the
I
thread that keeps you
that
connected.
keeps you connected. I truly believe that because you mentioned, like maybe we'll freak out if it doesn't go perfectly in the next couple months or a little bit or whatever. And I think I've started to look at that a little bit differently, and not that I ever really want to invite hard times. I don't think any of us do as humans. But a lot of times, things are gonna happen regardless, like you've always said, but, like, whatever happens may not look pretty to us initially, but if we can stop, get curious, and sit with it or work with it or whatever it is that we're always talking about on this podcast, oftentimes there is beauty on the other side that we would not have been able to get through without that hard time. So even if some of this looks a little messy, which I'm sure it will because it's not like it comes in and it's just like, "Oh, here we go. Let's just quote unquote change on something really easy." We don't change unless there's hardship. Like that's just how we work. So as
Right.
humans. So I mean it'll be interesting, but I think that that quote is such a beautiful way to sum this up of kind of what we could do if we start really paying attention to the energy and working with it versus demonizing it and staying scared.
And this brings it into another concept because
Okay.
that Pluto sun in its aspect and means an aspect means how is it connected to the other energy? So, how do two energies connect?
Okay.
Well, it's the testing the ability to tolerate and genuinely accept people as they are.
Mm.
That's what we're all trying to do with this full moon for the next 6 months. and
So
every
that
full moon hereafter.
okay, so that's what an eclipse does. It just keeps the energy in this bigger package? Okay.
Yes, it just keeps the energy coming up, coming up, coming up.
Over and over and over. So for the next 6
Yep.
months, we're really in this Virgo energy, regardless of the other energies at play.
Yes. That just that just adds a little more piece to the puzzle. I
Right.
mean, a puzzle is made of a 1,000-piece puzzle. I'm giving you 5 pieces.
Yeah.
Now, the test ability to tolerate and genuinely accept people. That's what
Mhm.
brought me into that whole Orion concept
Mhm.
because they ultimately had to balance each other out. Positive and negative had to be dissolved. There is no positive and negative. It's all one. And when you were saying what you just got done saying, when we just live in the now,
Mhm.
we're not worried about what may be, might be, could be, should be. Just stay present now. I can see what's going on with me now.
Right.
I don't know what's going to be going on 2 hours from now, but I do know what's going on now. And I can make up my mind now. And so when we move into this Virgo eclipse at the end of the month, it's going to be powerful on the 21st. Recognizing that worldly conditions are unstable and the importance in finding and maintaining one's footing in one's inner purpose.
Mm.
So we all need to always, always, always stay focused on our own inner purpose to move to a higher level of understanding. And when things push our buttons, when things cause an emotional energy in us, then that gives us an opportunity to evaluate our own self.
Mhm.
And that's a big deal. And so we've got to keep things under control. And you do that by staying in your own inner purpose. I mean, what did Jesus say? Get the, don't try to move the sticker from your brother's eye until you get the board out of your own.
Right.
Pretty good saying.
Yeah, it is, and we've really gotten away from all of that. It's become so easy just to hate on people or cancel people or whatever because we have access to some version of people's lives on social media or their opinions or things we just didn't used to have access to. So it's made it a lot easier in some ways because you're sitting behind a keyboard too to really judge others and like deem something wrong or bad or whatever if it's out of alignment with you.
Right. And the energy patterns we have for this eclipse is we got a Saturn Neptune that's opposing the new moon eclipse. And that is um, tension between the personal identity and the collective service and healing. But it's so easy to forget that we're all interconnected. There is no separation from us
Mhm.
or between us.
Mhm.
It's we're connected to everything and everybody. I know Krishnamurti used to say transformation starts with one. You change you, you change the world. And of course, what this is saying, self it we discern truth from self-delusion and how you serve and heal others. So learning to trust your intuition is tested against Virgo's practicality.
Hmm.
So,
Thinking.
and then we have a Pluto Mars square. This is passive aggressiveness, resentment, and suppressed rage until it explodes. So the challenge is to face conflict consciously rather than to avoid it. And that's exactly what you said you did is
Mhm.
you started processing it through
Mhm.
and then you talked it out.
Mhm.
and you came to clarity. And we need to continue to do this instead of being in anger, frustration, fear, and conflict. It's an act in alignment with justice on a larger social and collective scale. And that's what we're all going to be dealing with for the next 6 months.
That's a big one. I mean, not to, like, put fear, but none of these really sound like they're gonna come in very gently to me. Like, these you were like, "This is gonna be a big month," but you kinda said it in this way of, very positive, and I do think the reason is because you're looking at it for the beauty on the other side, and I'm seeing a little bit of, like, this may be a little uncomfortable at first, and I always just wanna say that to people is, like, that doesn't have to be bad, like, we've gotta get more comfortable being uncomfortable because that's kinda where the magic starts.
Yeah, because that's what we have to integrate into ourselves.
Yeah.
Where's our ugliness? Where's our negativity? Where's
Right.
our,
But we'd like to pretend
humanness?
like we don't have that, so that's
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
like yeah.
and the thing about it is, everything is not peace, love, dove. I don't care how spiritual you are, how much meditation you do, you're not perfect,
Right.
or
No.
you wouldn't be here.
Right. Yeah,
So
you
this is
wouldn't be on Earth,
this
an
is
Earth
the
school.
school of opportunity. That's
Mhm.
exactly what this is. And Virgo is going to help you break it down, analyze it, and evaluate yourself. When you got one finger pointing outward, you got three pointing back at you.
Mhm.
So before you talk about somebody else, how about looking at yourself?
Yeah.
You created it. That's what I always try to do. No matter what happens in my life, I say, I created it. What am I looking at? What is it teaching me?
Mhm.
What is it showing me? And that's a hermetic principle.
Mhm.
And that's how we're all connected. So if somebody needs to come up and punch me in the nose, I got to realize, I got to say, well, he punched me in the nose. Why did I attract that? And what is it teaching me?
Mhm. That one's always a little tricky to sit with, but it has proven to be true in my life. Well, you don't I mean, and I think it can be misinterpreted to mean like, "Oh, if someone's treating me bad, I must have deserved it," or whatever, which that's not really what I believe the meaning to be. And I used to feel like, "Well, I don't believe that the universe is punishing like that or anything like that." But I think it's like there is always something to learn, and sometimes it can be that you need to step in and have a backbone. Or I read this quote today that was like, "I really wish
Yeah.
I had told a bunch more people in my life to fuck off." And I was like, "Yeah, me too." Like, maybe I don't know, like, there's there's places for all of it, but I mean, we cannot sit here and say what each specific person's journey is with that because everyone's truly is so different and very specific to them. So it's really that's why it's important to work with your own intuition and your own journey and not place judgment on others, which can be hard.
Yes.
Mhm.
That makes it a beautiful life.
Yeah, and way
Challenges the
easier.
opportunity to grow, challenges
Yes.
the opportunity to weed out some of the negativity that you've held in consciousness for 5 lifetimes.
Mhm.
I mean, you don't know where you've it's like what you said coming up from an old relationship. Well, that's what comes up from lifetimes.
Sure, like, that would the first relationship that came to mind was my last one, but that could have been a ton of other things that could be playing into that. But I do think it's interesting just on that topic a little bit, like, when we're talking about embracing the beauty in this world, I think we are so often quick to say all the things that we want without really looking at the messy journey that it can take to get there, like, I truly want an intimate relationship with a significant other and, like, that kind of connection romantically. Did I think that this is how I would get it? No, but it is. Like, that was one of the most beautiful moments of my week last week was having that connecting conversation, and I didn't want it to involve my past or something that, like, ugh, didn't feel right, but then it got there and it was
But
great.
look at it like this, you couldn't have this one unless you had all the ones prior to it.
We talk about that all the time, he and I, because 'cause we've known each other for long enough to where we could have been together at another part of our lives, but it would have never worked. We both had to have
Right.
all the experiences that we
I
did.
mean, my wife says that all the time after
Yeah.
30 years. And I said, shit, I would have never been able to put up with you when I was 20.
Well, right. Yeah. That's how
And
we
you wouldn't have
feel.
liked me at all
Nope.
because I was insecure,
Mhm.
just a brat.
Mhm.
So I
Yes.
mean, it took me 45 years to meet her, but I needed every single one
Yep.
of them.
Yep. That's how we are too. Anyway, that's just an interesting way to look at like all this stuff that we've said and, the working with certain energies. It can feel daunting, but I think it's when you switch to the narrative to being like, no, this is actually like why I'm here. And my soul wants to work on all these things to get the beauty on the other side. Like that's all it's working towards. It's not for punishment or harshness or anything like that.
Well, your soul's the one lead you into the conflict
Yeah. So you can
because
get there.
all your soul's job is to do is teach you.
Hmm.
That's it. And if it has to send you into a negative situation to teach you something, it will.
Oh, trust me, I know that.
I
My
mean,
s
I've had them
my
come in
soul
here and
has
saying,
done it.
I meditate 5 hours every day. Why is all these bad things happening?
Yeah.
I, I tried so hard to be spiritual. I say, just quit being spiritual and be human.
Yeah, just be human. I've also been there. Yeah. It's just a journey. Well, Marv, if
Yes.
anyone is going through this month and they are like, "Okay, this is way too much energy, I need a little help," where can they reach out to you to do an
They can
individual
reach me
session?
at marvin@astromarv.com.
Okay. And as always, you guys, I will put that in the description of this podcast. I'd highly recommend the individual sessions. They're very helpful to me. And like we're saying, everyone's on their own journey. So if you want to know more specifics about yours, doing your astrology reading with Marv is a really great way to start. So again, that will be in the description of this podcast. And Marv will be back next month to talk about the October energy and
Libra.
Libra.
Now we're
Well,
going to
that'll be sweet
balance
and
peace,
nice. A little
love, luck,
balance.
and Libra.
Yeah, I like Libra energy. All
Yeah,
right.
Aphrodite.
Oh, well, see, that sounds lovely. So it's something to look forward to. All right, you guys, thanks so much for listening. And Marv, thanks so much for being here.
Wonderful to be here.